Why relationships fail? Guess what? It's not what you think. Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Del Rosario, and this is Vantage Point Real Talk. It's across generations where we have the conversations that most people think about but are too afraid to have.
Hey, and I'm Alex Del Rosario, and today we're discussing why most relationships fail, and it's not what you think.
It's just not what you think. And there's so many things that people think. Most people think that, they heard this little fable, opposites attract, and they've just made that into a license to just go after these opposite characters.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
Yeah, and when relationships fail, most people aren't mature enough to understand why it failed. And why do you think that is?
Well, one of the things that we do is we just keep repeating cycles. All we know how to do is what we do, because that's what's familiar, that's what's comfortable, and so we just keep doing it. And the funny thing about it is, we just don't teach people what they really need to learn. One of the most important skill sets is just how to negotiate relationships. Whether it's a professional relationship on your job, whether it's a romantic relationship, choosing your life partner, that's pretty important. How to develop good parental relationships. None of that stuff is taught. But now I did learn how to drive a car when I was in school, driver's ed.
Debatable.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm really good behind the wheel. As a matter of fact, I'll share a story with you. One time, I was doing such defensive driving, I had to zip around the car and get back in front because they cut me off, and the police stopped me. He said, "Ma'am, that was the best darn defensive driving I've ever seen." So don't talk about my driver's ed experience. I think I'm pretty good.
And that was in Alabama?
No, that was here. I don't know why he had that accent. That is a good point.
Yeah,
But back to our point, talking about why relationships fail. So, I've worked with my clients and my practice for about 20-something years now. And the one thing that I started to hear over and over again is the same issues that people had in their relationship. And so as I started to do the research, I was like, there's like 7 areas where all of these marital problems fall into. Marital beliefs, that's your expectation, often never expressed verbally, of how you envision being in your marriage, the role you want to play, the role you think that they're going to play. So that's one, right?
Okay.
Then there's morals and values. That's who you are at your core self. Now, most important about morals and values, that's where compatibility really lives. The way that we are alike and we agree. Nobody gets divorced because of, getting along. They get divorced because they're not getting along and there's conflict. The more aligned you are here, the better off. Then the other area was finances.
Okay.
How to spend the money, how to save it, who's going to have control of what, and whether they can be trusted. Then you have family, how to get along with in-laws, outlaws, how to figure out how many kids you're going to have, who's going to do what with the children, family, right?
Yeah.
And so then the other area is handling disagreements.
Okay.
I'm a yeller, my husband's not. I'm very expressive, I'm emotionally open, so I don't mind talking about things. You might be married to somebody that's emotionally closed, that doesn't like to talk about anything, right? They could be passive aggressive or whatever. So that's another issue. Religion is not that big of a problem. I think it makes up for about 20% of divorces, but it's more of a problem in 2 different areas. When you have children, because now it really doesn't matter, because what are you going to teach them? And then also, if you really do practice your faith. If you don't practice your faith, ain't nobody mad, because you're not really doing anything with it anyways, right?
So I was going to ask you a question, because something that I've seen is, to your point, is that finances is one of the main things that break people up.
You think so?
Well, that's what I've heard. So my question is it the lack of money, or is it more so the fact that someone is doing something that is, for lack of a better term, pissing the other person off?
I'm going to tell you what it is. To me, you could talk about cheating. A lot of people break up because there was infidelity. One person stepped out on the other. But another area where there's infidelity is in the area of finances.
How so?
You have an agreement. We're going to save a certain amount of money so we can buy this house. And that heifer's out there at Marshall's buying up stuff, on her lunch break, and then hiding the bags in the trunk of the car or sneaking them in the house while you're not looking. So she's still overspending, and she's not saving the amount. That could be it. It could also be where you've not agreed and she's loaning her money to her brother Don, and Don doesn't pay back anybody, let alone Uncle Sam. So he's definitely not going to pay her back. It could be things like that where you've had an agreement about how you're going to handle the things, and that person doesn't really align. They do something different.
Got it. All right. Because I was wondering, again, with that finances, it's so broad that I hear so many people, oh, it was the finances that led to me not being happy because I was always having to not have the things of my desire. We couldn't go on trips and things of that nature.
And it might be because they couldn't trust the person, because the person's not being true to what they decided to do. But now that you sound like you're talking about financial stressors.
Correct. I want to know, what is the difference between just, struggling to survive, but there's two people with a good game plan. Does that mean that they're also likely to get divorced just because they're staying in low class? And even if they have a budget, even if they have this and that, but guess what? You're a teacher, you make X amount. He's a construction worker, he makes X amount. And that's really not going to change, even if you are good at what you do. And as you know, cost of living is just booming and things of that nature. So is it that even when there's respect, even when there's a budget, but if you're low class, meaning that you're not earning enough, is that what's going to break you apart?
It can.
I just want to understand.
It can, but it really shouldn't, because
it says for better or for worse, rich or poor, but
But here's the thing. If you have a plan, you're not going to tell me that you're not going to see some sort of gains over time.
I agree.
I mean, I can remember when I was first married. I remember it was difficult, after we stepped up and got our second home. There was a lot of things we couldn't afford, because now you're making that stretch. You're trying to increase your capacity to this new real estate that you just purchased. Everybody goes through that. So I always see room for improvement and room for growth if you really have your plan and you're working your plan. Your plan might be, well, you go back to school, or get a job that's going to help give tuition reimbursement so that you can kind of scale, how are we going to go from here to there? But there has to be a plan.
So what's something that I want to talk about, something that I've seen. So I know that you're the marriage expert, but someone that's been in a relationship, been married, and currently married, and then have just seen other people.
You sound like you were divorced before the way you said that. You've only been married once. Been married and now married. You didn't mean it that way, did you?
Oh, no. Yeah. What I'm saying is I've been around a lot of people who are married.
Okay, gotcha.
Some that aren't, some that are trying to be, and then now I am married and have been in a relationship for 7 years.
I thought you had skipped something on me.
No. So point that I'm getting at is, what I've seen is, because we're talking about compatibility, that there's so many times where people actually aren't compatible, they're just comfortable. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people just stick with the thing that's easy, which is, hey, I've known you since high school and we've been together since, and a lot of that's built on superficial stuff. It's literally, you guys were in the same grade, you found each other attractive. That's okay for high school, but then the problem is it never built into anything more than that. But then yet you're now, look, oh, you were there when my grandma died. This and that. So now there's all these things that are making, look,
we've done life together.
Exactly. I don't want to start over again. You're hearing people say that. So then now it's like, wow. And now 10 years later, you're now seeing, oh my God, I'm miserable because I'm with this person, X, Y, and Z. So that's one part that I want to get you to start talking about is, how does someone know that that it's not that they're comfortable, it's that they're not compatible? Or some people, maybe you are comfortable because you're compatible.
I think you have to look at one thing. The one thing is a metric that lets you know whether somebody is good for you or not. Do you feel like they make you into your better self? Do you feel like there's no restrictions on your growth? Do you understand that they feel an affinity to your dreams and to your visions, and they're right there with you? Like, if you have a dream like, oh, one day I'm going to keep going to school and I want to be a physicist. I'm not the best at math, but I'm taking some classes over the summer and I want to do that. And the person's like, but why do you want to do that? If that's their response to what's really, really important to you, it's a big sign. It's a bad sign. Yeah. It means that that's not a person that's going to have capacity. They have capacity for you, for who you are now. But if your aspiration is to become this person over here, they're letting you know, I have no interest in that version of you. Right? And I think that when people choose someone, they always choose for now. And I think that's the worst thing that you can do.
That's a good point.
So not only should the person be compatible with your core self, who you are, what you want, what you're aspiring to, right? But they also need to have legs. They have to be able to have capacity for who you will become.
That's good.
And so here's the thing. Most people look at, oh, I like them, they like me, or I'm attracted to them. Like I say, physical attraction, we know, is really a chemical reaction.
Mm-hmm.
You got dopamine, you got oxytocin that makes you feel these jitters and that excitement. Some people are in love with that phase of a relationship.
Yeah.
That's why they're not able to stay faithful, because they crave that. But
They
you gotta
want that
understand,
high.
yeah, it's temporary though. It's
Yeah.
just in caveman days, it was there to make you stay long enough and pay enough attention so that you could mate with that person and procreate and increase the population.
Mm-hmm.
But really what's important is, what kind of a family, what am I going to build with this person?
Yeah.
If you can't see yourself building, because all of that about the sex, all of that about, the loving them, all of those things are temporal.
Yeah.
Some days I'm really in love, and then some days not so much.
Correct.
Some days I feel that jittery feeling. Some days not so much.
Yeah.
And so really it's about, what kind of a life on this planet am I trying to build? And are you aligning with the life that I want to build? Are you aligning with the type of family that I'm trying to make? What kind of children am I trying to cultivate and grow up into? What kind of individuals? What are the values that we're going to teach them?
Correct.
What are the morals,
And I really love what you touched upon, because from my experience, when I'm just talking to most people, believe it or not, Doc, they don't think about none of that. It's literally, I like him, my family likes him,
Mm-hmm.
he's hot, she's hot, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
We barely fight, we barely argue.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when life gets real and they start doing stuff like having kids, and now it isn't all, now the whole dynamic's changing. Now you're having to think long term, because you thought just the vibes and everything was going to carry you on. So I love what you touched upon, because to me, in every area of life, if you're not thinking within decades, you're probably going to make a bad decision.
You will. And I'm going to tell you the other thing that I think happens to people. The reason why they get stuck with these people that they feel comfortable with is, there's science that says whatever trauma level you're at, or level of emotional maturity, you find a mate that's at the same level, the same frequency, and it makes you feel comfortable. Now,
so dive into that. What does that look like?
Well, it means I had so many hurts in my childhood. I went through some things that were damaging to me. And in real terms, in visible terms, I might see that you can relate to that. But in metaphysics, what's happening is that your frequency is the same frequency as mine. So we kind of resonate together. But
So like trauma bonding?
Yeah, that's tantamount to, that's the reason why trauma bonding works, right?
Just want to make sure I understood.
So what happens though? I have a growth mindset. So I don't care how I ended the relationship. I'm definitely not going to leave it in the same state. This Jackie is different than the Jackie I was this time last year. So over the span of 10, 15 years, you got a different girl. So I'm with someone that doesn't have capacity for that though. So they're still the same person that they were when we first got together. Now I'm way down here somewhere. I'm much more emotionally mature. I'm much stronger. I'm no longer being triggered by the things that used to trigger me. I don't deploy the same defense mechanisms anymore, right? And then that person's still like that. They're stunted in their growth. But I'm going to tell you this. The reason why people get together though, right, is because I think that as a society, we have one big underlying problem.
Okay, let's hear it.
We hate being alone. There's no comfort, particularly for women, in being alone. Most women are afraid of being alone because we've been socialized all of our lives. Like boys play by themselves. Girls, it's always got to be tea parties. It's always got to be little fashion shows. We go to the bathroom together. We shop together. Most women don't even go shopping by themselves. They call somebody else, hey, I'm going to run to you. Want to go? Men are solitary.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys go it'll be weird if you went to, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. You want to go?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't happen.
Definitely not.
But
Call the police.
But yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But for women especially, we're afraid of being alone. And to me, there's a level of growth that does not happen until you're comfortable with yourself. If I'm not in love with being alone with me, why should you?
Man.
So for me in college, I figured that out.
Okay.
And this is why a lot of women start getting with guys that they already know. Something already told them inside, that joker is not for you. Just leave that fool alone. But then you're alone by yourself on Friday night, all your friends out doing stuff, and he calls. Guess what you're going to do? After you already had that self-talk, girl, don't call him back. That's a waste of time. I can already see the writing on the wall. Ring, 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 Friday night. Hey, what you doing? And you're there by yourself. You're going to go out that fool.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's going to do something with you so that you don't have to be by yourself. Next thing you know, you might have slept with him. Then you on the base 2 or third base by the time this story's over, and it doesn't have a good ending because you knew you never should have been with him in the first place.
Yeah.
So what Jack Back did is I decided when I was in college, like, I'm not going to mess up my life. I'm not going to mess up my time. I'm not going to lose time dating and kissing frogs. So when I realized, like, hey, I noticed that one of my weaknesses is I don't like to be alone, and it impacts my decision making. I decided right then and there, forget it. I moved off campus, moved into a room in someone's apartment, and I just started going to class every day. Then I would drive over to that apartment, and I would go into my room, and I would spend time with who? Jackie. And what I started doing was I started rehearsing my life, all of the major things that destroyed me. And I just started looking at them. And it was painful at first. Like I say, the first week or two was difficult.
Okay.
But by the time I got like into week 3, I started getting clarity. I started seeing answers to like, oh girl, you zigged right. You should have zigged left here. And on this particular situation, you should have done this. In the future, don't do that. And then the more clarity I got, the more confidence I gained. And the more settled I felt in myself about my ability to negotiate relationships. And then I started learning things about myself. Like, I like this. I don't like that. This is what I notice about this relationship. Don't ever go that way again. You don't like when people act like this. You know, you prefer this because this is the type of person that you are. Self-discovery. It was a map. I just saw Jackie in all of her splendor and also in all of my weaknesses. And I understood who I was. And I started to fall in love with me. So much so that the best thing, and to this day, I like to do is be by myself.
Me as well.
I go in my room. Sometimes I have company even downstairs. And I'll just need a break. I'll like leave the people and I'll just go up to my room for like 15, 20 minutes, sometimes 30. I'll actually lay down and just be there in my, by myself. Then I'll gather myself and I'll go back downstairs.
Yeah.
I am more of an introvert and I never knew that.
This is where I always have to reel Doc in is you're a very deep person.
No, I'm not.
You definitely are. You are very values based, mission based, impact driven. A lot of people do not care about a lot of things in the way that you do. Exactly like what you said. Oh man, what am I investing my time into? Am I just watching junk, or am I watching things that can make me a better person? What books am I reading? You think the average person is just reading books? Especially if they're reading books, are they reading books to become a better version
I love what you said.
Of themselves?
I'm gonna answer that question.
No, hold on. But this is what I wanted to bring it all. I wanted to bring it all together to say, I think that's a big issue. Is a lot of people just care about the destination that they're going to in the summer, and making sure that they're not going alone and that they're going with someone. So that's where our culture is going a lot. I can't talk about your generation, but my generation. They don't care about, hey, so what do you see yourself improving and what are some of your goals? A lot of it's
I got where you're
I'm trying to go here, do this.
But that's where I was too.
Okay.
So we're talking about maturity, right?
Yes.
So when I was maybe your age, that was where I was going. But let me tell you what makes a difference. It's the people that you surround yourself with. And what I had to learn was you'll know that someone's a mentor if they make you feel inadequate and insecure. See, most people would run from somebody that made them feel that way, and they would probably be pointing their finger like, I don't like the way you make me feel. That's where, that's your sweet spot. That means that's what that person's there for. For me, surrounding myself with good people, they awaken what's latent on the inside. So that growth person is there. They just haven't been awakened. And so they will draw that out because they're saying things around you that make you think, and you don't realize it is being absorbed and it's beginning to activate something in you. Yeah. And I really believe that we are like magnets. We attract to ourselves people that are like us.
Yeah, I agree.
So they just might not have been awakened. So it's when I talk the way that I'm talking that I'm awakening the people around me. Yeah. And I'm making them think about something that they did not ever consider. I'm getting them to see something that they hadn't yet seen. And so I don't want anybody to think like that I just went out of college and I'm over here watching documentary. No. But look.
I thought you were.
No. But I did want to change the world.
Yeah.
And then once I started getting the tools in my toolbox, and one of the main ones I learned about is if you look at the 10 people that are around any given person, you can see where they're going to be in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So once I started learning that, I don't waste my time with people that talk and do not perform.
Yeah.
So I don't have people like that in my environment. And I'm very, very selective with who I spend time around.
And before we wrap up, I want to ask you one last question, because one thing that I see is, hey, Alex, you understand, I didn't come from a good household like you. I don't know what marriage looks like. My dad had 3 different baby moms. I have a whole bunch of half brothers and step brothers and sisters and everything like that. So your values, even though I would want that, I don't know what that looks like, but I know what this looks like. And this is comfortable to me. This is what I'm surrounded by, going back to what you said about your environment and your surroundings having such a big impact. So my question is even if you want it better for yourself, if you don't know how to do better and you don't see better around yourself, if you can't look at your family members, you can't look at any of your friends that are from your same community, how do you successfully have a marriage or a relationship when your environment doesn't give you those options to have those people?
So it's really simple. You already partly answered the question. If the person is wanting something better, that means that it's already there.
Okay.
So the fact that they're wanting something different than what they see in their families, it's already there. But a man cannot recreate what he's never seen.
Yeah.
So it's real simple. That doesn't mean that I watch television and try to that's entertainment. That's not real, right? So you need to put yourself in situations where you're around people that are in real families that are functioning. When I say functioning, all families are dysfunctional.
Yeah.
All of them. I don't care the very best. The Cosbys had some dysfunction, you know.
Well, Bill had a lot of dysfunction.
Well, we don't talk about that.
Yes, sir.
But what I'm saying is the fact that you desire something means that God already gave you that as a gift. You just have to figure out how to unwrap it.
Got it.
So otherwise you wouldn't even want it. So now I need to get around families that are doing the things that I want to see replicated when I have my own family.
Okay.
So what you need to do is you need to be able to see people, how they interact. I had a cousin, he went to Harvard, as a matter of fact. He was born into poverty, but super bright. His teachers couldn't teach him or whatnot. So a white family adopted him. They didn't adopt him, but they let him come and live with them up in Boston or whatever, wherever it was. And so he went to school there with their kids, and he lived in their household. He was one of the few in that family because of that environment. You know, he graduated Harvard, went to Columbia Law and all of this, and won a landslide multi-million-dollar lawsuit right out of, law school. But he was able to build a very successful family. He has like 3-4 sons, one woman that he was married to, faithful. When she died of cancer, that man stayed without anybody for like 5 years. And I remember one day he called me and said, I'm ready to start dating. Most men are married within a year or two of their wife's demise, So, but I think it had to do with the environment that he was in. He wasn't with the other siblings that were living in the household with a cheating father. He was able to see how people interacted. You need to see, how do people interact when they're just telling their kids, come get your homework done, come to dinner, hey, you better not do that. He got to see those interactions. I'll give you an example. This is just something personal.
Okay.
I called one of my cousins is my best friend. And every time I would call, I would say, hey, auntie, how you doing? And she'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was like, finally, I used to hate, sometimes I would hang up when she would answer because she just sounded so gruff. And then I asked my cousin, I was like, what's up with your mom? She was like, oh, nothing. That's just the way she, answers the phone. So then one day I called again, and she answered. And I said, Auntie, I said, are you mad? And she said, no, I'm not mad. And so I was just like, whoa, And I told my cousin, I said, I think we're a little hostile in my family. Like the women are a little hostile. And that means me too, because I'm a female in my family.
Yeah.
But I one day was getting my hair done, and this lady was talking to her son. I thought it was her husband. She said, ay, mi amor, qué bueno, cómete algo. And she was talking to them, saying to eat something, to eat a snack, and that she'll be home at such and such a time. And so then when she hangs up, she says, oh, that was my son. I was like, that was your son? She says, yeah. And every time that I went, a lot of times I would hear her talk to somebody from her family. And so I started listening to that. And so it started to rewrite over the way I'm used to hearing people talk. And so then I was able to start taking that and now using it in my family, the way that I heard her talk. But remember, I had a very limited clip.
Yeah.
So the more you're able to put yourself in settings and situations where you're around people that are doing and being, living what you're wanting to see, it gives you that bandwidth now to keep integrating that into your own life. What a man sees, he can recreate. But if I've never seen it, I cannot recreate it. So I heard the way she talked with that kind of love and tenderness. And I know that that's very familiar to the Latin community. Ay, mi amor, ay, mi hijita, amorcita. I know that they use those kinds of terms, but they're beautiful, delicate terms. And I just love it. But now look, we were raised in slavery. Yeah. So look, my father's great grandmother was a slave. So we're not that removed from slavery where you were beaten. Get over there and put that. And so to me, that's where that comes from. So as a people, I think we need to give ourselves permission, and we also need to expose ourselves so that we can learn to be even more tender, because the world has been so cruel to us. Every day still, you got to fight sometimes, so that we can learn to adopt not the language of our colonizers or our enslavers, but we get to adopt the language of God, which I think is just so soft and precious and nurturing, and I think that that's what we need.
I love it.
Well, I hope I answered your question.
You absolutely did. So I want to move to our next and last segment, which is he say, she say. So your main takeaways from this conversation with compatibility is what?
I don't think that the reason why people fail in relationships is what they think. It's not about what they didn't do and what they did. It's about were they a good fit in the first place. That's takeaway number one. And I did give you the 7 different areas of compatibility. They need to be discussed and they need to be vetted to make sure that the person that you're with has that. I added a caveat though, and I talked about that the growth mindset is also super, super important, and it merits being highlighted under values. All right. And then the second thing that I would say would be a takeaway would be that we have to deal with that elephant in the room, which might be some of the weaknesses that we have that might make us more prone to making bad decisions. For me and for a lot of women, it is the fear of being alone. If you don't get rid of that, you are always going to repeat the cycle. This year is Jimmy, next year is Bernard, next year is Carlos. You gotta, or Juanita, or it's gonna be Jackie, and it's gonna be, Sally. You gotta break that, whether you're a girl or a guy. And I think the third takeaway is, let's see. I think the third takeaway is about recreating something, becoming this iteration that you want to be, or building that family or that future that you want to see. And I'm saying to you that you have to expose yourself to people that are or that have what it is that you're trying to recreate, so that you can integrate the sayings and the behaviors and the mood into your own life, and then you can have what you see.
And I only have one major takeaway, and it's off of hearing what you touched upon, is I think that if you're talking relationships and you're not thinking long term, you're already going to lose.
Oh, that's good.
So that even makes me think no one wants to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend for 15, 20 years. and you want to have a husband or a wife for 15, 20 years. So even when you're thinking that way, it's going to change the way that you approach stuff. You're not going to just be looking for someone to sleep next to. You're going to look at for someone to do life with. You're going to look for someone to be there to raise your kids and things of that nature. So I think just shifting from that short-term mindset and view to long-term is automatically going to put you in a really good place to be successful and to build something that's going to be lasting and very impactful. So that's my key takeaway. I'm going to give it back to Doc to wrap us up.
Well, I want to thank you so much for participating, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share. And until next week, we'll be talking soon.
All righty.